This week, Chad Skipper from VMware is with us to discuss detecting threats with NSX NDR. Then Frank McGovern, the founder of Blue Team Con, joins us to talk about his journey defending the enterprise and the current state of defense there. Finally, in the enterprise security news, Leica raises $35 million in the growing compliance as a service segment. IBM launches XDR. CrowdStrike acquires Secure Circle and moves into the data layer. Help Systems acquires yet another company, endpoint DLP vendor, Digital Guardian. Crazy valuations, questionable statistics. Analysts shine a doubtful light on Darktrace's value. Facebook gets all meta on us. All that and more on this episode of Enterprise Security Weekly.
This is Security Weekly, for security professionals, by security professionals. Broadcasting live from G-Unit Studios in Rhode Island, it's the show where we talk security vendors and aren't afraid to name names. It's Enterprise Security Weekly. When it comes to your network, visibility is imperative because you can't secure what you can't see. Riverbed's network performance management solution gives you 100% network visibility 100% of the time. Now you can resolve performance issues and security threats up to 90% faster and reduce response time, damage, and cost spent on remediation and containment efforts. Connect with Riverbed today and learn how their NPM solution can protect your network by visiting securityweekly.com/Riverbed. Let's face it, cyber attackers have the advantage. ExtraHop is on a mission to help you take it back. Regain the upper hand with security that can't be undermined, outsmarted, or compromised. When you don't have to choose between protecting your business and moving it forward, that's security uncompromised. See how it works in the full product demo, free online at securityweekly.com/ExtraHop.
Welcome to Enterprise Security Weekly and happy National Candy Day. Or maybe it should be called National Sick of Candy Day. I don't know. How much Halloween candy do you have left? This is episode 249, recorded on Thursday, November 4th, 2021. I'm your host, Adrian Sanabria, and joining us today is Mr. Tyler Shields. Hello, Tyler.
Good afternoon, Adrian. Great to hear your voice again. And for what it's worth, when it comes to sugar candy, never, ever enough sugar candy. Chocolate, I'll pass, but sugar candy all day long.
So wrong. Moving on to Katie Teitler. I think we discussed this last time. I think
we
you
did,
and me
because
are
it was
more
National
aligned.
Chocolate Day, and Tyler dissented and said
right,
chocolate.
That's right.
How do you feel about Starburst, Tyler?
That's a sugar candy. I'm in. I'm a fan all day long.
Well, then you'll be glad to know that I had two bowls, one with Starburst, one with chocolate. The kids took more Starburst than chocolate.
See, your kids are very, very smart kids.
Yeah, or just haven't developed much of a palate yet.
To be clear, they're my neighborhood kids, not my kids. I only have furry kids.
Right.
And I'm sure they would not care whether it was chocolate or sugar, but we are really going down a rat hole here.
We are. Please continue with the news, Adrian.
Actually, an announcement here. In case you missed it, today's Thursday. It's not Wednesday. Paul's Security Weekly now streams on Wednesday. So if you're expecting it to be tonight, you missed it. It's last night. You can go watch it and catch up with it on your favorite podcast catcher or on YouTube or wherever. So same time, 6 p.m. to 9 p.m., except I think it is going to be a little different next week. I think I heard somebody say it was going to be 4 p.m. In the afternoon next week, but still on Wednesday, still sticking to Wednesday, and we're going to be Thursday from now on from 3 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. Eastern. You can view our schedule anytime at securityweekly.com/live. And today's interview is sponsored by VMware. Today's topic is detecting threats with VMware's NSX Network Detection and Response product. We're excited to have Chad Skipper, a friend of mine that I haven't talked to in a while. We've run into each other before in my industry analyst days. He's a director of product marketing at VMware these days, and he's been in cybersecurity a long, long time. He spent time at Symantec, Cisco, Dell, Cylance, Lastline, and now VMware. He's been a product manager. He's helped develop products. He's worked in network security, email security, managed services, SIM, endpoint security, and did some work with antivirus testing there as well. Lots of stuff. Welcome, Chad.
Well, thank you very much, Adrian. Nice to see you. And you know what? Every day is a candy day in my household, so we celebrate candy very often. So it's great to be here.
Nice. Yeah. So, talking about your background there, oftentimes you find somebody who has a really strong network background or really strong endpoint background, or maybe on the developer side, but not really all of the above. How did you got started as a sysadmin, right?
Yeah, I've been blessed in having the ability to stay in the security industry for quite some time, over 25 years. I actually started off in the Air Force, United States Air Force, in Air Intelligence Agency, running, all of our back-end system administration, and a lot of that had to do with security. And what's funny is it was actually before the first commercially available firewall. And from there, I was able to get into a small startup that was purchased by Cisco, and spent many years at Cisco, 9 years at Cisco on the firewall, on the IDS side, as well as the managed security side. And spent some time in the SIM space, but ended up wanting to change my career a little bit and get into the endpoint and see what the endpoint was like. So I spent time at Dell and the office of the CTO on the strategy for endpoint security for the 24 million Dell clients that got shipped out every year. And then it really intrigued me around EPP, endpoint protection platforms. And at Dell, I started testing. Right, I really started testing the efficacy of these products out there across the entire endpoint landscape. And this was really the beginning of the ransomware type, obfuscated using packers and bypassing signature-based technologies. And when artificial intelligence and machine learning really started coming into play, 2014 through 2016, all the way up to today. And actually, wrote a dummies book on it, on how to test endpoint security products using obfuscated matters. And then from Silence, I decided to get back onto the network side and went over to Lastline, which is a network detection and response platform, which was acquired by VMware last year. And from that, we've done some more testing. But I've been blessed in my career working with a lot of great people, a lot of great mentors, both on the network side, the endpoint side, and the cloud side as well.
Yeah, definitely. Very, very well rounded there. Lastline, I had forgotten about that acquisition. But yeah, super interesting. And I think before we dive into what you can do with NDR there, VMware, I think it's worth going into what VMware NSX is, what it does, where it lives, both architecturally and physically.
Yeah, so VMware is a network and security virtualization platform, right? So as NSX, it's a distributed firewall and distributed next generation firewall. And it's really around providing segmentation, micro-segmentation within your virtual environments, both public cloud, private cloud, as well as on-premise. And it enables us to be part of that hypervisor. So think about all your workloads, all your VDIs, having an underlying infrastructure where we can virtualize security services. And one of those areas is, first off, the foundation of this is segmentation, micro-segmentation, right? Reduce the blast radius of those threat actors trying to move laterally within your network once they gain that initial access. But we all know that there's common ports and protocols that have to be allowed, and segmentation's not going to provide any type of protection given on those ports and protocols and that blast radius. So from there, VMware saw the vision of we need to increase our security capabilities within that distributed firewall, and purchased last line, and we are integrating last line components of the network detection and response into the hypervisor itself. So think about having a network sandbox as part of your VNIC, right? Having network traffic analysis as part of that VNIC, and as well as a distributed IDS IPS as part of that virtualization layer. And what that really provides is, 100% visibility across that virtualization layer east-west within your organization, as well as things coming in, ingress and egress. And one of the value propositions is having that visibility there at the point where the application lives. We're taking the analytics to the data itself instead of, in a traditional sense, right? Tapping or spanning or hairpinning that data out to an external analytic analysis device. So that's the power of having, a distributed firewall within your software-defined networks, and an ability to take that type of sensors, let's say, the analysis that directly to the point of data.
And what are the key components of this NDR product? That make up this NDR. You mentioned a sandbox. You mentioned sensors.
Correct. That's a great question. So we look at NDR as a correlation technology between the signals that we're getting from our sensors, that we'll call them sensors at this particular point. And it's made up of, right now, 3 core components. And we're going to continue to add to those as we move forward. But the first one is the intrusion detection, intrusion prevention system, right? This is a signature-based as well as behavioral-based IDS that allows us to distribute those to your workloads. And we can distribute just signatures that are targeted to what your workload's doing, either Tomcat, SQL, you name whatever application is. We can just distribute those signatures and those behavioral signatures from an IPS perspective. But the value proposition here from an IPS is, since it's distributed on the virtual layer, we're seeing the traffic, both ingress and egress, as well as east-west. So the visibility between all your workloads and your VDIs communicating together. So that's one. And it provides virtual patching. We all know patching's hard. Sometimes you can't do it. So we can virtually patch those CVEs. So the IDS is a strong play for us in that area. The second component is a full system emulated sandbox, right? Network sandbox. This is where we will take payloads off the wire, call this .exes, .ells, .coms, L files, scripts, VBS scripts, tons and tons, about 154 plus file types that we do. And we take those off the wire and we dynamically and do static analysis, but we dynamically execute those within our sandbox. And what I mean by full system emulation is it emulates both the CPU, the memory, and the OS. And what that allows us to do is interact with that malware and elicit every type of response, every type of behavior in that malware. So it's very difficult to evade a full system emulated sandbox. So we're seeing things on the network from the IPS. We're seeing all the payloads that are being delivered to your workloads. And then finally is network traffic analysis. This is our ability to baseline all of the traffic that is moving east-west within your data center, within your multi-cloud environment. And from there, we can create that baseline, and we can determine and see anomalies, right? And we use unsupervised machine learning to really determine what those anomalies are. But in a lot of cases, as you know, an anomaly is not necessarily malicious. It's just an anomaly. So what we also do is apply supervised machine learning models on top of that on threat-centric capabilities that we're seeing from, the communications on IPS, as well as, how the malware is interacting with the threat actor via the sandbox. And by applying that, we significantly reduce those anomalies, false positives, right? That would be just a normal anomaly. We significantly reduce those to really focus on that threat that's moving east-west. And then the NDR capability of this is being able to tie all of those across the MITRE ATT&CK framework. So anywhere from, we saw an initial access attempt, it could be an exploit to a workload, or it could be a phishing attempt with a payload attached in an email or a link back to something where they downloaded it. That's that initial access attempt. From there, they might try to do command and control, establish those communications. The IPS is going to pick that up. And then, it's not just about the threat actor gaining that initial access. That's just that's just the beginning. What they want to do is stay in your systems for a long time and be able to discover and move laterally within your multi-cloud networks. And that's where network traffic analysis comes in to be able to detect those. And the NDR will actually understands those flows and be able to connect the dots and provide you a timeline of, hey, we saw this threat actor gain access to this workload via this exploit. We then begin to see, SMB share enumeration. We then begin to see maybe pass the hash or remote desktop protocol access to another device. From there, it moves and shares, malicious payloads laterally, anything from a remote access Trojans to, Tesla crypt, the dark side, whatever it might be. We'll be able to detect that, as you saw in the report. And then from an exfiltration, that's another area that the NTA, the network traffic analysis, can pick up, is that those anomalous exfiltration of data, egress in your organization, whether they're using DGA activity and trying to obfuscate that through DNS or DNS cat, right? Trying to use tools and exfiltrate that. So what we're really trying to do is we have great visibility, and with that visibility, being able to correlate, all those signals that we're seeing from those different detection capabilities into a timeline, a campaign that's easily consumable by the SOC operator.
And you've also got some endpoint stuff at VMware as well. Any plan to, is that already integrated, or is there any plan to integrate that and call it an XDR solution maybe at some point?
Yes, that's a great question as well. Yeah, and the answer to that is yes. Right, we have Carbon Black workload and Carbon Black endpoint. The endpoint is for your endpoints that you're physically on. And Carbon Black workload is actually for those workloads that are virtualized within your cloud environments. And we are one unit now. We are one business group underneath VMware. And so we are working and collaboratively working together on that XDR vision. And that vision is beyond EDR and NDR from a VMware perspective, right? Yes, we believe that EDR, endpoint detection response, and network detection response is core to this. And we do have integrations that we're working on today that will be out very soon. But some of those integrations that we have today is, as an example, if Carbon Black sees a file that it's never seen before, it will actually have the ability to push it to the network sandbox, and then we can dynamically execute that file and provide a result. We share IOCs between each other. We have the ability to quarantine based upon some of those IOCs that we're sharing, but it's going to get more involved in the future. And what I mean by what VMware sees is that it's telemetry from multiple sensors that's going to make up that extended detection and response. So think of things like the AVI load balancer, right? Web application firewall. We're going to get great telemetry from those. Workspace ONE, we have great telemetry that we can provide into that XDR capability. Mesh 7, API security, another great avenue for us to be able to put into the future of what we see as this platform, the security platform, and what some people say is XDR, be able to do those types of things as well. So we've got a lot of different types of security technology that we are embracing, and we'll be able to move forward in the future with great collaboration to provide great visibility to our customers' threat hunting capabilities through an XDR vision.
Hey, Chad, this is Tyler. Great to. I love the description you're able to break down for us on the infrastructure side of the equation of EDR, XDR. But is there any storylines or descriptions or components when you start to move up stack into the application layer on how some of these technologies play? I know VMware is historically hypervisor infrastructure network layer technologies and has been moving up host over time. Can you talk to me a little bit about how the app storyline plays into the products?
So absolutely. So from an app perspective, right? We have great visibility into those applications as we're there when they are actually born. Does that make sense? So from that perspective, given that we have that visibility across cloud application security, even the Kubernetes security and container security, and the analytics that we have, having those, just a profile of them with the identity and the access policies around those is going to provide us great meaningful information to provide a better threat posture, right, for our customers across the entire life cycle from cradle to grave, right, of that particular application. So we've got advanced analytics and automations and open APIs, especially around the cloud data lakes. And then, providing that seamless integration is definitely a vision that we have here at VMware as we move forward.
Yeah, and especially now, if we even think about the future of infrastructure, the way infrastructure at an application layer is being designed today, cloud native, cloud first, moving to 100% CSP driven, container driven.
That's right.
As we break down our applications into serverless and microservices, the types of data that an XDR style solution has to be able to handle and control has to move up stack. So it's going to be interesting to watch how the team and the products and the product management and product direction at VMware continues to tackle these difficult shifts in infrastructure.
And that's where API security comes into play here as well, especially as those microservices are becoming more dominant in the industry. We're going to be able to be a differentiator on those IP secure from an API security standpoint.
So you mentioned, did you have something else?
Nope. I was going to kick it back to you with a beautiful little transition, Adrian. So feel free to take it away with your question.
Okay. Yeah, you mentioned the NTA piece, detecting anomalies, stuff like that. What is how much time, or I guess it's more of a how much traffic question does it take to be able to set that baseline? How long does that have to sit and kind of get used to things before it can tell anomaly from baseline?
Yeah, that's another good question. We have that question all the time from our customers, and I can tell you that it's usually 7 days minimum that it takes for us to create that baseline, right? And from that baseline, then we are able to really promote, right, those anomalies into our network detection and response capabilities, right? So about 7 days to get a good baseline of what we see as normal. And then from there, we'll begin promoting those anomalies into the pipeline.
And then also on that vein, what about encrypted traffic? How do you deal with especially east-west? Increasingly, stuff there is encrypted. How do you detect stuff there, or if attackers are maybe using encryption to hide C2 or something like that?
And that's let's get into that. We look at 3 different areas, to be honest with you, on how we go about looking and doing encrypted traffic. One is TLS decryption, right? So we have soon to have, right, imminent release, a gateway firewall that is going to enable us to do TLS encryption. So there are various possible instrumentation points, right? That active TLS interception, TLS termination proxy, passive TLS decryption, mail transfer agents, web proxies. But we will be decrypting network traffic with TLS version 1.3. That's one way in which we are able to decrypt that traffic. Another way is we can actually, via guest introspection, and this is why it's very important. Well, it's why we think it's very important to have the network sandbox as part of that hypervisor. And first, we're the first to go to market with a sandbox as part of the VNIC, part of the hypervisor. And in that, we're going to be using the guest introspection functionality to be able to look inside of that encrypted payload, encrypted traffic, and pull that payload off of that encrypted flow to where now we can have an unencrypted payload to execute within the sandbox. And the third one is encrypted traffic analysis, right? So the encrypted traffic analysis gives us the ability to look at the certificates, the header, and because that gives us a lot of capabilities to understand how the threat actors are communicating. And we have unsupervised and supervised machine learning that helps us pull out those events via the encrypted traffic analysis capabilities that we have on the payloads. Does that help?
Yeah, it does. And it's not all just ML, right? Like some things, it just makes sense to have rules and things like that. Do you have like a research team, that is looking at threats and updating the product with stuff like that?
So you're correct. It's much more than machine learning. We have several types of machine learning capabilities, static analysis, signatures, YAR rules, those types of things all come with it, right? And we do have a VMware threat analysis unit, and that is made up of threat researchers, and in fact, it's led by one of the co-founders from Lastline, Giovanni Vigna, who is actually has his one of the most published security academics in the world, alongside Christopher Krugel, who is also a co-founder of Lastline. They're both professors at the University of California, Santa Barbara, but they have a team, and that team, their day job is to do many things, right? Look at the telemetry that we're having, providing. Did I lose people?
No, I can hear you.
Okay, so, I'm sorry.
Good.
It just my screen flashed. My apologies. So they're looking at the telemetry that our products are providing, and from that, they're doing a lot of tuning on the machine learning models that we put out. They're creating those YAR rules, they're creating those IPS signatures, and they're conducting research. There was one just recently on Hello Kitty. There's another one recently on the snake ransomware. And we just recently put out a report, and in that report, this is from the VMware Threat Analysis Unit. In that report, we found that, interesting enough, based upon our telemetry, that 4% of all emails that have passed perimeter security controls had some type of malicious component, right? So think of that, 4%. And these are the areas that our analysts are looking at, as well as from a sandbox perspective. Over 50% of the malicious artifacts that we analyzed were some type of archive file, right? So a lot of capabilities by adversaries being able to bypass security controls by different types of packing and archive capabilities. And I'll leave you, and I'll also say this, based upon the telemetry that the VMware Threat Analysis Unit is seeing, that the most common way that adversaries move laterally in your network is 77% of the time they're using remote desktop protocol, RDP, and another 15% of the time they're using pass to hash, right? And they get that and using pass to hash by becoming persistent on that initial compromised asset and being able to get those the authentication capabilities.
And I'm assuming Hello Kitty is a threat actor.
In this case, yes.
I thought they were just defending against a cartoon character. Isn't that?
Yeah.
Isn't that what they?
Yeah.
Can you imagine having to tell your board of directors that we got hacked by Hello Kitty?
Hello Kitty.
Which is worse, Hello Kitty or like getting hacked by Pikachu?
There you go.
Is that one also?
I have no idea.
But I think it would be a funny one if I'm going to do one. That's what I'm naming it.
Yeah, have no idea. I'm sure it will be one of these days. We'll have something come out one of these days like that.
So I love that you worked with my good friend Simon Edwards over in the UK, SE Labs. Me and him have talked about product testing a lot. It's a passion for both of us. I'm actually doing product testing here at CRA now under the brand Security Weekly Labs.
It's a passion of mine too, right? I mean, you got to test your products, right? You got to have third-party validation, and we used to say test for yourself, but there's a lot of times that you just can't. So, but I love breaking things and testing stuff, right? So.
Yeah, unfortunately, we don't have time to go into the details of that report, but it is linked in the show notes here. You can grab it from VMware's website, or you can grab it from the SE Labs website. One of the things I love about SE Labs is all the reports are open to the public, no registration or anything to download them. And I do believe your link also does not require registration. To check out any of the stuff you linked. So always makes us happy. I think this day and age, people are worried about, I really want to read that report, but is my phone going to blow up the moment I do it?
Yeah, I get the feeling as well. Absolutely. Now, we wanted to make this report freely and available to our customers and to the industry. This is the first network detection and response test in the industry, right? We've seen tests on firewall, we've seen tests on IPS, we've seen tests on sandbox, but we've never seen a test on all of those capabilities working together. And so we reached out to Simon, and he was very open. I already had some testing methodologies against it, and we worked with him, got our product in his lab, and just turned around and let his team do the work. And it's a great product. We detected all the network payloads as well as the network traffic against 4 advanced persistent threats around ULRIG, APT34, APT3, APT29, as well as FIN7 Carbonac. So very excited about those results, especially given that this was the industry's first network detection response test out there.
Very exciting. Awesome stuff. Chad, thank you for joining us on Enterprise Security Weekly today.
All righty. Appreciate having me. Y'all have a great day. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, this segment was sponsored by VMware. Be sure to check out securityweekly.com/VMware for more information about VMware's network security solutions. And stay tuned. When we come back, we're going to talk enterprise defense with Frank McGovern, the founder of Blue Team Con.